Welcome to Zama Victor English and Literature Academy, the home of English language and literature. Today I'm going to lecture you on the meaning of figures of speech. We are going to look into the meaning of figures of speech. I'm going to explain to you the meaning of figures of speech. Before I proceed, I want my listeners to know the objective of this lesson. By the end of this lesson, I expect my learners to know the meaning of figures of speech, to identify at least 15 figures of speech, give examples of each of these figures of speech. We are going to know the meaning of figure of speech. We are going to know the meaning of figure of speech. What is figure of speech? What is figures of speech? We are going to know the meaning of figure of speech. We are going to know the meaning of figures of speech. What is figure of speech? Figures of speech can be said to mean a word which cannot be understood by a literary a group of words which cannot be a group of words which cannot be understood by literary meaning. It is a situation in which certain images, ideas are used to convey a special kind of meaning or analogy. It is when someone figure of speech means a kind of special saying something and meaning something else, whereby a writer creates something in a language that is not ordinary, cannot be understood in a literary sense, or it is explain metaphorical ideas in abstract suggestions by using association or sound device to achieve an effective meaning. Figure of speech is, in a nutshell or in a layman understanding, means when something is used to make reference to another thing or which cannot be understood by a literary meaning, or saying something meaning another thing. It's when a word is used in non-literary sense. That means when I say non-literary sense, when a word is used in abstract ideas or figures to convey a meaning. Figure of speech also means figurative language. It can also be called figurative language because here an idea it's being explained in abstract meaning to convey a literal meaning. The meaning can mean another thing, saying something and meaning something else. Or it can, when a word is not used in non-literal sense, is said to be figure of speech. A special language which mean is not understand by the meaning of other ways. That is figure of speech. Then we are going to know areas or types of figure of speech. Figure of speech, some scholars divide it into two major parts. We have the sound devices and the literary devices. Or the sound devices deal with onomatopoeia, assonance, alliteration, and repetitions. These are sound devices. We have association, then we have contrast, then we have resemblance, we have constructions. The sound devices are, as I already state, that they are onomatopoeia, repetition, assonance, alliterations, or another name for onomatopoeia is echoism. These are sound devices. Then we have as resemblance, which are similar metaphor, personification, apostrophe. Then we have constructions, climax, anticlimax. We have association, which means metronomy and synecdoche. And you have contrast, which is antithesis, epigrammatic saying. Having known the various areas or types of figure of speech, let us look at the examples of these figures of speech. Number one is simile. Simile is a figure of speech in which something is directly compared. It is direct comparison of an idea using as or like to compare an idea Example is shown below. Like a piece in the pond, as blind as bats, eats like a pig. My mommy is like a rosary full of mystery. My mommy is like a rosary full of mysteries. These are comparison using as or like as in the example below. Having known the meaning of simile, let us look at metaphor. 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 Metaphor is a figure of speech in which an implied meaning or the indirect meaning is being. It is an indirect comparison of an idea without the usage of as or like. Here, the something it became an implied meaning. But I'm not going to explain types of metaphor here, but there are various types of metaphor. We have extended metaphor, which is called conceit. Then we have we have double metaphor. We also have dead metaphor, but which I'm not going to explain here. Here, all I know that metaphor is a figure of speech in which something implied the meaning. Its ideas are used compared to example, heart of stone. Time is money. The word is a stage. The word is a stage. Or you can say, he is a tiger. He is a tiger. These are examples of metaphor. Having no metaphor, let us look at a synecdoche. Synecdoche is when a part is used to represent a whole. When a part is used to represent a whole, for instance, someone can say all fingers are not equal. All fingers are not equal. Fingers there represents the whole. You can say all hands on the desk. All hands on the desk. All hands on the desk is also another form of synecdoche. Now, for instance, you can say new wheel. New wheel refers to a new car. You can say ask for hand, meaning asking a woman to marry you. Suit can be as business people. Suits. Plastic can refer to as credit cards. All these are forms of synecdoche. The part is used to represent a whole. Here, something that can be used to represent the part of the whole of the body is, for instance, you can say the White House has spoken. This means the American president has spoken. You can say Asorok has spoken, which means Nigerian president has spoken. This means that synecdoche represents only a part. Or you can say Nigerians. You can say the Nigerians lead the day. You can say the ego, the Super Eagles won the match. The Super Eagles here can also represent Nigeria won the match. Now let's look at what is called euphemism. Euphemism. Euphemism is a figure of speech whereby and something that is unpleasant to the hearing, or something that is not, whereby expression which is unpleasant to the hearing is said in a pleasant manner or in a pleasant way. Something that is not good in the hearing, or expression which is not good to be heard, is said in a pleasant manner, in a pleasant way, or in a midway. This is what is called euphemism. Something, an idea is presented in a midway or in a pleasant manner or way. The expression is said to be euphemism. Example, you can say he has joined his ancestors. Instead of saying he died, he say he has joined his ancestors, or he has passed away, or that is another way of saying it. He passed away. That means dead. He is no more. I can say Uche have joined his ancestors, meaning that Uche is dead. Something that is being said in a harsh is being said in a pleasant manner is said to be euphemism. Having known euphemism, let us consider another one called sarcasm. Sarcasm is a form of mocking. It is in order to intend to wound the feelings. It can be a kind of smiling sort, although it's different from irony. But though sarcasm, the main interest in sarcasm is to wound the feeling of the hearer. It tends to wound the feeling of a hearer. It is kind of a mock or a smiling sort on someone. That is said to be sarcasm. Example of sarcasm can be said grind the teeth. Somehow, in simple word, it means to speak bitterly. You can also say Emeka is the most beautiful. Emeka is the handsome guy in the class. Emeka is the handsome guy in the class, meaning Emeka, maybe indirectly, Emeka is the most ugly person. You can say Mary is the angel in the class. Mary is the devil in the classroom. Or you can say Mary is the virgin, meaning that he's a prostitute. Which means that Mary here, the main interest here is to wound the feeling of the hearer, or a smiling sort, or mocking somebody or ridicule somebody. That is what is called sarcasm. Having known sarcasm, let's go to pun. Pun is the use of words to a play or so commonly say a play of words, use of words to play on the words. Pun is a play of words or simply means use of words to play on words. It is whereby a words is used in different variety to achieve a purpose. Words are is toying with words to achieve a meaning in a sentence or in a passage or in a literary work is called pun. For instance, you can call pharmaceutical word that serve several meanings or that sound similar but different similar. You can say innocent. You cannot be innocent in this case. Innocent. You cannot be innocent in this case. The first innocent is the person's name, whereas the second innocent is an achieved idea which you want to. There, you are using their words to confuse the person. That is what is said to be pun. A kind of joke, making a play on words, using words to confuse an idea or achieve a meaning. I have said it again, innocent. You cannot be innocent in this case. That is what is said to be pun. There are two innocents there, having different meaning. Having known the meaning of pun, let us consider anticlimax. Anticlimax. Anticlimax is a rhetorical device or whereby a certain idea is presented from the ascending order to the lower order. An incident or something is presented from the lower order to the higher order is said to be anticlimax, whereas climax is the higher order to the lower order, whereas anticlimax is from the ascending order of magnitude, whereby situation transit from the lower order to the higher order is said to be anticlimax. Example: Emeka lost his car, wife. Emeka lost his car. Emeka lost his house, children, and wife. It starts from the house, children, and wife. This is example of anticlimax. Whereas climax, when you say climax, it means starting from the higher order of the magnitude to the descending order of magnitude. That is what is said by anticlimax. Anticlimax starts from the lower order of magnitude, whereas anticlimax starts from the higher order of magnitude of presentations. Thank you. Let's go over to another figure of speech known as latus. Latus means understatement or using double negatives in a way, in a positive or to express a negating opposite expression. It also means understatement. That is what it means. Whereas latus is understatement, whereas hyperbole is exaggeration. This understatement, that is what is said to be latus. Having known latus, let's look at hyperbole. Hyperbole is a form of exaggeration of idea. It makes something to appear higher than the life. That is what is said to be hyperbole. To make something, exaggerate something, or to lay emphasis, or to achieve an effect. That is what it means by hyperbole. Something to appear larger than the life. Something to appear rather than real life is what it means by hyperbole. To exaggerate it means to exaggerate. Exaggeration or to exaggerate means making it to appear larger than the life, making it to become so high that the thing seems to unachievable. That is what it means. It is used to lay emphasis or effect on the something. Example: I have told you to stop 1,000 times. 1,000 times is examples. 1,000 times there means hyperbole, exaggerated. That must have cost $1 billion. That must have cost
$1 billion. $1 billion is a okay. Have you known that $1 billion is example? I could do this forever. I could do this forever. It's an exaggeration. She is older than dating. She is older than dating. It's an example of hyperbole. Everybody knows that. Now let me show you another examples of hyperbole. From my example, you can see fluid of tears. The tears in your eye can fill a cup. The fluid of that the man cried to the man cries a fluid of tears from it. The man cries to the tears from the man's eye can fill the cup. The tears there can fill the cup is exaggeration of an idea. Have you known the meaning of hyperbole? Hyperbole. Let us look at anaphora. Let us look at anaphora. Anaphora. Okay, having said that, let us consider anaphora. Anaphors means that when certain expression or phrases or word or words are used dominantly in a ways are used it's a kind of technique whereby certain words are used in the same manner or in the same purpose to achieve any phrase is called anaphor. The words are used in several places or verses are begin or words or dominant idea are used are called anaphors. For instance, you can say I come, I saw, I conquered. I came, I saw, I conquered. It's an example of anaphor. Another one is mad word, mad kings, mad composition. Mad word, mad kings, mad composition. You can see repetition. You can see repetitions. You can see repetitions of mad. There, you can see the first one. You can see I. This is called anaphoric in nature. They are anaphoric in nature. Having known the meaning of anaphors, let's look at alliteration. Alliteration fall under sound devices. Falls under sound devices. Alliteration is the repetition of. Alliteration means repetition of the same consonant sounds at the beginning of a word or utterances. When there is a constant repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of a word, is said to be alliteration. Alliteration is one of the sound devices used. It's a figure of speech and it falls under sound devices. Sound devices. It is used constantly when a repetition of consonant sound at the beginning of a word is said to be alliterative in nature. For instance, let us look at the sentence first. She sells she sells seashells. You can see the repetition of there. The repetition of the sound there are alliterative in nature. Now look at the second sentence. What a wonder where wine was. You can see the repetition of the double sound there. This is called alliterative device. Then look at the last sentence. Blue baby bonnets bump through the bayou. Now you can see the repetition of sound. They are sound devices used to achieve achieve a thematic effect or use alliterative devices to achieve an effect in a word, or that is called alliteration. When there is constant repetition of consonant sound in a word, is called alliteration. Having known alliteration, let us consider personification. Personification is giving human qualities or attributes to non-living thing or non-living entity or non-living organism, and a human attributes to them are called personification, whereby certain human qualities, ideas, or attributes are given to inanimate objects or non-living things are said to be personification. Example, flower nod. Flower is inanimate object. There, flower is inanimate objects. Consider the second one, sunflakes dance. Sunflake is an inanimate object. Perform a function of dancing. Thunder grummed. Here, the thunder there is personified as human being that grummed. No. Then the last one is a flock crept in. Flock is personified as human being. Then the wind howled. The wind out. There, the wind is personified. All these things, giving certain human qualities to inanimate objects or lifeless objects or non-entity, non-existing object or non-human objects, non-human ideas, giving it certain that is non-existing qualities of human beings to inanimate objects are said to personification. Having known the meaning of personification, let us consider oxymoron. Oxymoron simply mean oxymoron simply means placing two opposite words side by side. Placing two opposite words side by side to achieve a thematic effect. Oxymoron is placing two contradictory terms side by side. That is something that is placing two opposite words, opposite idea or opposite idea side by side in a word is said to be oxymoron. For instance, somebody can say smile. You can say bitter truth. You can say married bachelor. Married and also bachelor are two words placing two opposite words side by side. Now, for this the sentence below, for illustration, there is another fine mess you have got onto. There is a real love-hate relationship developing between two of them. There is a real love-hate relationship developing between two of them. Love and hate are oxymoric in nature. Then let's look at this last one of the sentence. Suddenly, the room filled with a deafening silence. Suddenly, the room filled with a deafening silence. Now, you can see that the room is filled with a deafening and silence. These are alliterative. These are oxymoric in nature. The oxymoron means placing two words that accept contradictory terms together or placing two opposite words in a sentence. You can say married bachelor, bitter truth, ugly beautiful girl. Those things are said to be oxymoric in nature. Let's look at metonymy. Metonymy is a figure of speech whereby using something that is usually associated something. Using an associated something to present the whole is called oxymoric. It's called metonymy. When you use associate words to present the whole, is called metonymy. Metonymy is a figure of speech whereby something that is closely related to something or associated with something is used to represent that whole. Is called metonymy. For instance, you can say the US decide to keep check on immigration. US there refers to government. You can say pen is mightier than sword. Pen refers to written works and sword refers to military force. Have you seen it now? Let me give you a hand. Let me give you a hand means let me help you or let me assist you. Then you can say the management has spoken, which means the director or has spoken or the owner of this company has spoken. Now you can say it. He gave me a wheel today. Wheel there means that he gave me a drive today. Drive represents wheel can represent drive. That is said to mentor me, whereby something that is closely related to something is used to represent the whole. Something that is closely related to something is used to represent the whole is said to be metonymy. Having known the metonymy, let's consider understatements. Understatements occur when something is said to make something appear less important or less seriousness. When something is said to appear less important or less serious is said to be understatement. Just like a litos is just something like understatement when something is used to make something appear less important or less serious is said to be understatement. Let's consider the sentence above. I just it's just a scratch. It's just a scratch, referring to a large dent. It is a little dry and sandy. It is little dry and sandy, referring to driest desert in the world. In the world. In the world. In the world. It is interesting, referring to a bad or difficult experience. It stings a bit, referring to a serious wound or injury. All these things are understatements. Understatement means something that is less serious or less important is used. Having known the meaning of understatement, let's consider apostrophe. apostrophe simply means apostrophe simply means addressing to something that is lifeless or dead or absent objects, as if, or personifying it as if it is present. Apostrophe means a direct addressing something addressing something that is lifeless or something that is not something that is absent or not physically present or objects, as if it is present at the moment. It's a kind of special personification. It's a kind of special form of personification whereby you address something that is not physically present or idea, or something that is not lifeless as if it's though present. Talking to something that is not present as if it's present, that is called an abstract object. Addressing it as if it's though physically present is called apostrophe. Example: oh, star and cloud and wind, yet here all are here are all. Oh, star and cloud and wind, here are all about to mock me. If you really pity me, crush sensation and memory, let me become as naught. But if not, depart, I leave me in darkness. This is example of apostrophe addressing to lifeless objects or inanimate objects as though it's a present discussing with you. When you are addressing something such a thing in this situation, you call it apostrophe. Having known the meaning of apostrophe, or you can say, death be not be proud. Death be not proud. One of the death be not proud. This is example of apostrophe. Having known the meaning of apostrophe, let us look at epigram. Epigram means a kind of witty statement, a kind of witty or epigrammatic statement or clever statement. That is called epigram. It is a brief point saying frequently, introducing an antithetical ideas which excite surprise or arrest attention. It's a epigrammatic statement or witty statement or wise saying or wise saying. Witty statement, a witty statement. For instance, mankind must put an end to war, or war will put an end to mankind. It's a clever statement or witty statement, or epigrammatic is a witty statement or clever statement, or epigrammatic in nature. It is said to be a witty or clever statement uttered in a way. Like example again, mankind must put an end to war, or war will put an end to mankind. Life is simple so that others may simple live. Life is simple so that others may simple life. This is example of a epigrammatic statement or clever statement. Let's consider interrogation. Interrogation is figure of speech. It is just a form of question. Ask interrogation from that word. Interrogation is a question that require no answer. Although it's a question that require no answer. Example is a question that require no answer, but the reader or the speaker is expected to get an answer, but there is no answer at the moment. It's interrogation, asking a question not for the sake of getting an answer, but to put a point more clear. Here, a question is being asked not because an immediate answer is being expected, but to put more points or make it clear. For instance, or for example, Consider the sentence above there. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Can you imagine that? If you poison us, do we not die? Are you ashamed of yourself? These are interrogative question, or what is also known as rhetorical question, which an answer is not expected but to achieve a fact. That is called rhetorical question. Having known rhetorical question, let us consider oxymoron once more. Oxymoron, I say that it is placing two opposite words side by side, or contradictory statements side by side. Placing two opposite words side by side in order to achieve a useful meaning is called oxymoron. Let us see the sentence below. Known secret, known and secret, known secret. Sometimes is known and also secret. Orderly confused, deafened silent, confirm rumor, confirm and also rumor, awful nice. These are what is said to be oxymoron. Oxymoron is just a kind of placing two opposite words or contradictory statements side by side. Having known the meaning of oxymoron, let us consider exclamation. Exclamation is used to express is used to draw greater attention to a point, barely or plain statements. It is usually followed by exclamation mark. It is used to draw more attention on a point than merely bland or plain statements. Example, it is used to draw an attention merely plain statements. It is usually use exclamation mark. For instance, how sweet the moonlight is upon us. How smooth the moonlight upon this bank. How sweet the moonlight upon this bank. You can see the exclamation mark there, showing that it is used to draw an attention on a point. How sweet the moonlight upon this bank. The moonlight is upon the bank, is used to attention on the bank. Chai, a wonderful day indeed. Chai, a wonderful day indeed. Wonderful day indeed is exclamated. It's an example of exclamation. Having known that, let us explain the use of irony. Let us explain the use of irony. Irony is a figure of speech in which saying opposite of what is expected, exactly opposite of what is expected, is or convey an idea of what is expected is called irony. Opposite of what is expected. Or irony means a figure of speech whereby an opposite of an idea is being expected, or saying opposite of what of intention is said to be ironic in nature. As for instance, Brutus, for example, for Brutus is an honorable man, so they are all honorable men. In order to say that it's an ironical in nature, it means that Brutus is dishonorable man. It's meaning that Brutus is a dishonorable man. Also, they are all dishonorable men. But here is ironically said, Brutus is an honorable man. Brutus is an honorable man, so they are all honorable men. Now, let us look at types of irony. We have three major types of irony. We have three major types of irony, which are 1. Dramatic irony, 2. Situational irony, 3. Verbal irony. What is used here is called verbal irony. What is used here is example of verbal irony. Verbal irony. Let me say it again. We have three major types of irony, which are dramatic irony, situational irony, and verbal irony. What is used here is verbal irony. Let me explain verbal irony. Verbal irony is exactly the one that shows exactly opposite of what you have in mind. Opposite of what you try to convey is said to be verbal irony. When you say dramatic irony, mainly used in play, or drama. It means that when a character in a play does not know an act is being committed by him, but the audience is aware of it, is called dramatic irony. When a right character in a play or an actor in a play is not obvious of is not obvious of what he does, but the audience knows that, is called a dramatic irony. Is not aware of the facts of what he does in a stage, but audience know about his audience is aware of it, is called dramatic irony. In a simple shell, a character is not aware of an intention or act he committed on the stage, but the audience know it is but the audience is aware of it, is called dramatic irony. Whereas situational irony is when a situation turns exact opposite of your intention, is called situational irony. When an opposite of intention or what you expected turns to be the negative side of it, is called a situational irony, whereby opposite of intention turns to a negative side of it, opposite or changes. When the opposite of intention changes to negative side of it, is called situational irony. When an exact opposite of intention, it shows an exact opposite of intention or situation, opposite of a situation or intention, is said to be situational irony. Having known situational irony, let us explain the meaning of antithesis. Antithesis simply means balancing a kind of balancing two contradictory ideas. A placing or a kind of balancing two contradictory ideas. Balancing a kind of balancing, making or balancing two contradictory ideas or statements, or contrasting, balancing of two contradictory ideas, or balancing of two statements, or striking opposition ideas. When you achieve a balance between the two ways, is said to be antithesis in nature. For instance, you can say speech is silver but silence is golden. Speech is silver but silence is golden. That is example. To err is human, but forgive is divine. To err is human, but to forgive is divine. This is example of antithesis. Speech is silver, but silence is golden. Speech is silver, silence is golden. The two words are trying to achieve a balance between the two statements or contrasting idea. When you are achieving this kind of achievement of balancing of the two ideas, is said to be antithetic in nature. Love and hate, good and evil, peace and war. When you are trying to achieve balance between those two ways, you are doing what's called antithesis. Having known the meaning of antithesis, we have come to the end of this lecture. Let us go back to the meaning of figure of speech. Having known all the figure of speech, there are many other ones, but here I'm limiting this to these numbers. Now let's go back to the meaning of figure of speech once more. We say that figure of speech is a kind of it can be said to be use of abstract ideas, images in a non-literary sense, or to convey a metaphorical meaning, saying something and meaning something other thing else, or a kind of whereby something is used in a figurative manner, something is achieved in a figurative manner, is another name for figure of speech, whereby something is present in non-literary sense, something is not presented in ordinary meaning. Figure of speech is a abstract whereby something is conveyed in abstract idea to convey something that is subject in an abstract idea, conveying it in a saying something, I mean another thing. The idea there is not conveyed in literary form, although it is conveyed using abstractions, imagery, symbols to convey an abstract idea. It can be sound, associative, resemblance, comparison. All these are found in figure of speech, whereby subjective sense is conveyed subjective sense is conveyed in non-literary meaning. Thank you. Subscribe for my YouTube channel to know more on figure of speech. I love you all. Thank you. Subscribe. I love you all. I hope that objective have been achieved. I hope we have achieved the objective as stated earlier.